Hey guys, welcome to Studio Time, and this is episode 2. Let's talk about the Wonder Woman theme. The Wonder Woman theme first appeared in Batman vs. Superman, and only for a few moments. And so in this version of the film, it happens quite a lot and in various different versions. And I gave it a pretty radical spin. I thought that for this movie, we needed a lot of background information on the Amazonia where she's from. And the Amazonia is depicted in this movie for a fair amount. And to me, when I saw the clan, the tribe, if you will, I felt it had a really strong and old character to it, and a timeless character, you know, a tribe that always was. They're here now, but they will always be. And so much similar with Wonder Woman, she was always here, she's here now, and she will always be. And I thought it was important that the music had like a world music character to it, like instruments and music from way, way back in the past. And then made current for now, and that potentially can live on for the future. So I used this incredible female singer from Tehran, Iran, and her name is Dilaram. And you can check out her credits when you see the credits of the movie or the booklet of the soundtrack, and you can check her out. She's unbelievable. I mean, she's like very highly schooled Persian opera singer, and she has a range of almost 5 octaves. It's absolutely insane. You will hear some bits that she sung, and I used her as the inner voice vocalist of Diane and Wonder Woman. So the emotional scenes that happen in the film that surrounds Diane or the Amazon, it's a very ambient type of background where her vocal is like front and center to underscore that element of it. And then the very signature rhythm that goes with the Wonder Woman theme, I made that more aggressive. And the way that I made that more aggressive is using world music drums, of which you see a couple right here, frame drums, some two-pans, a duff even, and really, it's a very bright percussion, and it makes it like really nice and bright. And I made it more energetic because even though Wonder Woman is a warrior with a very emotional heart and very kind and loving person, but when she kicks ass, and she can easily take out an army on her own. So there's no need when it comes to fight sequences to make her, you know, somewhat dialed back in aggression or power, because, you know, she does kick ass. So in other words, I wanted to raise the sword and sandal aspect of her character. And while there are emotional scenes, I wanted to go more to her background and how old she is and how long she's been here for. So, in short, that is more or less why I picked this musical approach. So, excuse me so much. What I'm going to play you right now is not a scene from the movie, but it's a new version of the theme. So sections of this actually do appear in the movie, but when you eventually are able to check out the soundtrack, which is going to be released in full, by the way, so every cue in this movie is being released. So it's like 3 hours and 54 minutes of music. So I already feel sorry for who is going to listen to that in one go. But it's an interesting ride. And so This was more like a theme exploration, and then I adapted sections of this throughout the film and then built on it depending on what was happening in the picture, and stretch it out where it needed stretching out. Obviously use different types of instruments and such. That you can all check out when you see the movie or the soundtrack. I just wanted to focus purely in this clip of studio time on the theme exploration itself. Let me just play it, and then after that we're just gonna talk about it. At the same time, if we show you the Cubase screen here and now and then, you see some of the plugins I have open, and I will also open up some of the instruments here that I used for the electronic side of things, and I will just go over it. So without further ado, here it comes. Okay, guys, there you have it. The Wonder Woman theme 2.0. Let's talk a little bit about this. I had a few plugins open here and there, so you could see a little bit what I used. Some of the world music string type instruments. Oh, by the way, this is the demo. So this is not the finished version, the mixed version. I love to sometimes show you the demos that I'm working on, so you have an idea of what the production value at that point is, or how detailed it is. And then you can compare it with how it ends up in the film or the soundtrack, and then you could see the difference there. Or maybe some of you say, I like the demo way better. That happens too. So for the demo purposes, for these kind of types of instruments, I actually use the Omnisphere. It has such a wonderful, detailed samples of these instruments in there. Let's see. So that's one, that's one. It's called the Athena plug. This is Voices of Turkey, if I'm not mistaken. Then I used the dulcimer, I used the kalimba, and I used the solo ney. Here we go with that. Let's see the kalimba. So I think the Omnisphere has done a really great job in sampling these instruments in detail and playing them. It's a wonderful, wonderful box. And then I used another thing which I really like. It's a library that is available for Kontakt. It's called Exhale, and I really love the sound of that. It's some really cool vocal instruments there. I do a lot of sound design myself on vocals, which we talked about in the first episode of Justice League: The Crew at War Power, and I showed you what that sounded like. So this particular track has these world music instruments, and then it has that incredible vocal of Dilaram. So let's play that solo for a second. Incredible voice. And did you guys hear, like, later on how high this woman can sing? It's I remember when we recorded some stuff, it's like, wow, I haven't heard anything like that remotely close. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, the massive, really great bass line. And then we get to the part how the riff is being constructed. So in this case, I played the guitars myself, whereas the original was played on a cello. A lot of people felt back in the day when they heard it for the first time that it was also guitar, but it was a cello, and there's some great live performances of Hans Zimmer on tour when you see Tina just ripping that cello with all their boxes. So it was a really great sound, and I wanted to change up the sound for this one. So I did it with re-recorded the Duke with a lot of distortion on it, with 4 guitars, I should say, 6 guitars. Okay, so let's play the first guitar and then see what that sounds like. Okay, so that's that. Let's play the other 2 guitars that are stereo. They play together, that. Then we have a guitar that is just panned to the center, that does this. Okay. And then we have this guitar right here. So, if we were to only solo all the guitars together, it would sound like this. Come on. Here we go. I'm not paying attention because a lot of the guitars I'm not playing. Okay, here we go. Sorry guys, here we go. Okay, so the last thing that is missing is the Dahud. It's very interesting how it sounds. It has a pretty major part in this sound. Check this out. So this is a Dahud, pretty heavy edited and distorted and affected. So if I add that with all the guitars, you would think, why is that thing in there? But it gives this really interesting quality. So let's do this again, and then I'll go in and out with that Dahud. So it's a really interesting mix of these various different guitars together and the Dahud as being part of it. So if I select a mixer window right here, and if correct, you should be seeing the mixer window right now. The interesting thing is that if you look at the guitars here, you see no plugins, and you see no plugin here. Here you see only a tuner and a phase mistress that gives it some phasing. Another guitar here with no plugins, and one other guitar here with no plugins. And you would wonder, but I still hear all these distortion tones. Where do they come from? And the reason why these tracks have no plugins on them, like distortion or anything like that, is because it was recorded with that beautiful amp there in the corner. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a reissue from 1980 or 1981 of the famous Jimi Hendrix Marshall stack. So the original one that Jimi Hendrix had, there were only 50 being made, or 100, a very low number, but I'm sure some experts are on here that are going to tell you exactly what the number is. But in 1980, 1981, they reissued it also with a very small number in purple. How Purple Haze, maybe? That's maybe why they do it. But it's a very typical blues amp that doesn't have like the typical pre-gain and stuff. It has volume. And so when you turn it really loud, it starts distorting and you get that really crunchy sound. And that's how I got the sound that you're hearing. And I'm thinking which, oh, there it is. Wait, let me just grab it. This is a Ibanez guitar from the 70s, and it's like very much a Les Paul copy or an older Gibson copy with some unique pickups. It's a beautiful sounding guitar. especially when you use this pickup. And I remember putting the tone, so the brightness, dark color, almost like all the way down. So it kind of sounds muffled, but then the distortion of that amp is making up for it, and it gets that really grungy, nice, high frequency touch to it. Anyway, enough about guitars. Let's put the guitar back where it came from, and let's go back over here. And so there's a few more things to discuss. Some sound design synths. So this is one of the synths that came from Massive, as I'm seeing here. And let's play what that sounds like. It's very heavy edited. So a technique that I use a lot is to have like just a typical MIDI part, and then I make cuts, I reverse things around, and then I make these little stutter edits. And so I like to do sometimes to do these things by hand, but there are also a couple of plugins that do this really, really well. There's this thing I love a lot. Let's see, LFO tools. Let's just look for it. Here we go. X for Records, LFO tools. So here we go. This little plugin here, and it has like amazing things you can do. You could just really draw like extra things in that you want. You can draw things open, you can close them, you can pull things down, you can make your own graph, and you can determine how quickly things are being repeated. And so you can get some really interesting shapes with a plugin like that. There's also other plugins you can do it with. One of the first ones that did a really nice job of that is Isotope, and it was developed together with BT, who turned stutter editing into an art form in 2001 or so, to the point where it becomes almost unlistenable to listen to, but his editing chops and production chops were ridiculously far developed. So he was responsible for that plugin, and you can do some really interesting stuff with that, the Isotope one, which I actually not sure if I still have it. I used to have it. Let's see, is it still there? Stutter edit, yeah, it's still here. So for the sake of it, let's just open it. Let's see, what do I do? Yeah, okay. Needs a MIDI controller to do. Okay, so I'm just going to click that away. Preset manager right here. So here you can set all these really interesting presets, and with your keys, you can select different scenes in that plugin that do different stutter edits, and you can create really musical effects. It's really brilliantly designed. Very beautiful plugin. Anyway, back to the music side of things. So in this case, I did it by hand with some reversed trickery. And there's one other guitar line that I would like to point out to you, which is another live guitar which basically plays percussive rhythm. And it's that effect when you mute the string. So basically you would hear cluck, 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 cluck. No, nothing more. But it's only done with my pink, and it's done above the higher harmonics of the guitar. So you get very high harmonics, and you get that typical sound. So this was done on one of my Stratocaster or the Jazzmaster that is out there, but it could be the Stratocaster that hangs over there. And you get that really interesting effect. And this was not recorded on that guitar. This was actually recorded on a different amp. Let me grab that. It's a very small amp, but very beautiful. This is a real vintage Fender Princeton. And it comes from 1964 or so, but it's still like in very good shape. Maybe it says the year on the back. No, it does not. But it's a beautiful sounding amp, and it has really that quality of that crunchy. Also, this amp only has volume, so volume, treble, bass, reverb, and then very typical for Fender those days, tremolo. And so the amp doesn't sound loud at all, but if you want a little bit of that crunch, you go really up to like a 7 or 8, and you get that really, really nice touch of like clack, 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 that kind of sound that I just played to you. Okay. Oh, we have more live guitars here? Please. Enough already. Let's see. Again, that must have been the Fender done on that amp. And then we are getting to rhythms. Yes, because that is the big component of this track as well. So the thing that I did here is that, as you can see, it's a 7/8. But I never considered this a 7/8 rhythm. I know a lot of people in the orchestral world would, you know. I actually always saw it. I always saw it as a 7/4 rhythm, where the accents are being pre-lapped and then they land back on the 1. So people who are drummers would totally understand what I'm talking about. So it would be. So to me, it's more like a 7/4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Where it's like down, 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 down. So drummers are very used to play like in a 4/4 rhythm, like do. For instance, what I just played, you would never consider that, you know, just like an odd 8 rhythm with another odd rhythm to then start again. So it would still be 4/4, and in this case, I feel it as a 7/4 rhythm instead of a 7/8. But it depends who you are, what your perception is of music, how that feels for you. So if we were to take some of these drum samples here with some of the big hits that go with it, with some of the toms that go with it, we're going to get that very typical, iconic type of drum rhythm. Here we go. Okay, so that is just the drums. And here we talk a little bit about that world music sounds. Here it's programmed with my own world music drum library, but it's that very bright sound that I was talking about earlier. And the instrument that is a darbuka, and I'm going to grab it. Because many people maybe don't know what a darbuka is, but this is a darbuka, and it has that really like really bright, snappy sound, and that is exactly what that is. So for the final version that ends up in the mix, I actually played it with rods, or sticks, I think it was rods, which are like multiple small pieces of wood that look like a stick, and then slap it on the sides, and you get an even brighter sound than with your fingers. But I'm not a professional darbuka player, so if you have a professional darbuka player, they can snap it like as if it's a stick, you know? But since I'm an amateur on a darbuka, but I have fun playing it, that's what that sounds like. So, the thing that we have left, technically, because there's not really a string orchestra in here, this is like some mellow string chords in the break for that vocal is the same bass that we also talked about in The Crew at War Power, which is that bass that I recorded in that big silo with when I was in New Zealand working with Peter Jackson and Chris Rivers on Mortal Engines. The other one is a very aggressive slap on the bass. So that's also being used on those typical big accents with the drums. And ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to the exploration of the Wonder Woman theme. Again, this is a theme exploration, my demo of it, and it's parts of it are utilized like you heard it in the film score, and some parts are completely different, depending on what's happening in the scene and what is needed. I had a lot of fun doing this, and see you next week.